TRS Clips, the place you arrive at if you just want the best bits of India's smartest podcast, The Ranveer Show. Subscribe, hit that bell icon. I didn't have the balls to watch this movie, but I read about a movie called The Father with Anthony Hopkins, and I think you should totally watch it. It's your domain.
Yeah.
It's about Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
So the movie is shot from the perspective of the person who's going through Alzheimer's and dementia. So he walks into a room and suddenly it's another timeline. He walks into another room and he sees his daughter, who's very young at that point, but she's actually an adult. He gets whacked by his daughter's fiance because he's frustrated of housing this person in his house.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that guy like troubling him and whacking him, suddenly he wakes up in a hospital where he thinks the nurse is trying to whack him, but she's just trying to feed him food. Then suddenly at the end of the movie, he cries and says, "I want to go back to my mommy."
Yeah.
And this actually happens in the real world. If you've ever had a dementia patient, an Alzheimer's patient in and around you, this happens. What is Alzheimer's and dementia, firstly? And this is sort of a very everyday version of, I hate saying it, but it's a very everyday version of insanity. And then there's also legitimate insanity, which you hear about in Shutter Island, which you hear about in mental asylums.
Psychosis.
So maybe beginning this conversation with Alzheimer's and dementia, could you also take the conversation to overall insanity?
Alzheimer's is a good place to start understanding identity and memory. We don't think about memory too much, but memory is what links each moment to the next. So when I'm making conversation with you, when you tell me something, each word is a separate moment. Like it's like a photograph. I have to put all those photographs together for that sentence to make sense. I'm putting them together because I have memory. If I have no memory, you're just saying random words and there is no connection between them. Similarly, for days and months, all of them will come together to give me a story. In Alzheimer's, the neurons in your brain that are responsible for memory, they die. In simple words, because of chronic stress, and there is something called as accumulation of toxins inside the neurons, and those neurons will die. When those neurons die, your brain loses its ability to make sense of things. It cannot put two and two together, and so your reality starts to change. We don't think about how you know me. You know my face, you know the story, you know my name, you can put all this together. What if the neurons that connect these three things go away and they lose their connection? Now you know my face, but you don't know my name. And you don't know my story. But some other story pops into your mind and you think, wait, maybe this is my brother's friend who's come to borrow money from me.
Or this is my son from 20 years ago.
Correct. He may have a black jacket. That black jacket will trigger that memory, and those two memories get interlinked. And now suddenly you think that, hey, maybe this is my son. So then there is a confusion. This is what happens in Alzheimer's. Now, along with all this, your amygdala is still active. It is always looking for threats. So you see your daughter. You know the face, but you don't know who that is. Your amygdala is getting activated. Who is this person in my house? She's a stranger. And now you start creating stories to justify it. That maybe my relative is trying to come and kill me. Maybe somebody has hired an assassin to come and put poison into my soup. These are all stories that you create to make sense of this weird picture in front of you. This is what happens in the last stage of Alzheimer's.
So very dark state of
Terrible
being.
situation.
Yeah, and again, spiritualism does these things to your own head, especially if you're studying it. You start perceiving the world with a lens of spiritualism. And then I think of things like karma. Could this person have done such bad stuff in this life or the past life that they have to go through this now? This is so much worse than physical injury, where you're being mentally injured every second. Like you're going through trauma every second. And you said that the outcome of chronic stress is Alzheimer's. That means the entire life they've basically been very tense about things, or they've not had the best state of mind, they've not had the best mental health, and it ends with this.
Yeah. Alzheimer's has multiple reasons. One of them is familial, if there's somebody in your family who has also had it. But the important thing to know is we can delay it by taking care of your mental health, by taking care of your sleep, by taking care of your diet. You can push it further. You don't not everybody has to go down that road. There are certain things that you can do. I am not a big believer in karma in the way that it is usually spoken of. I believe that we look for reasons because it is important to us. If somebody has an accident, we look for reasons that, maybe they were a bad person, maybe they did something wrong, because that for us completes the story.
It's how the brain's biology also works.
Yeah, we cannot accept that we don't know. So when something happens, we always need to have an explanation. Otherwise, your amygdala is activating. क्यों हो रहा है? So the idea of not knowing is scarier than knowing a wrong answer. So I think that karma is us creating that story. There is, what I do believe in is scientific cause and effect. You spend a whole life sleeping badly, the consequences will be there. So that cause and effect I do believe in. I'm not a fan of spiritual karma. I'm not a believer in spiritual karma.
Yeah, but what if you're like stressed your entire life and that stress causes you to act up in front of people, to act angry with people, and it accumulates in a micro way. You shout at your maid, you shout at your driver. Eventually, when you're old, you have to go through 2 years of Alzheimer's to make up for all those people you shouted at or looked down upon because of your own stress.
So you're equating that years of shouting and stress with getting Alzheimer's.
Possibly. I'm not saying that's what it is, but
To say that you got Alzheimer's because you shouted is not scientific. But what chronic stress does is it increases the chances of inflammation. So what is much more likely is getting high blood pressure and getting a stroke, getting a blood clot in your brain, getting a blood clot in your heart, getting a heart attack. All those are actually much more related with chronic stress. So in a way, karma does pay off. You do get something in return for everything that you do. But it is not related to a higher power or anything.
Okay, sure. What about like proper insanity? Like what happens there?
When you, the initial word was madness. This person has gone mad, pagal ho gaya hai. Now you know that there are so many different reasons why somebody can misunderstand the world. What you said, Shutter Island, the example that you'd given, usme that person is unable to understand if he or she is in a prison or is he in a hospital, is somebody there, not there. Another example was Beautiful Mind.
Yeah. Oh my God. About John Nash, the
Yes,
mathematician.
The mathematician. So that was all on schizophrenia. So these are different examples of people's brain being unable to cope with the environment and just creating stories by themselves. In Alzheimer's, that doesn't happen so much. There is no hallucination. Now, the difference in Alzheimer's and schizophrenia is that in schizophrenia, you create things. Even if it's not there, I will imagine somebody standing next to me. Because in my story, it is important that somebody is there. But in Alzheimer's, I will see you and I will change your story.
Schizophrenia, what you explained is the brain starts creating people, maybe characters, maybe ghosts around you. Biologically, again, what's happening?
Auditory and visual hallucinations. That is, you create sounds and you create things that you see. There are areas of the brain. So if you tap the back of your head, that is the occipital lobe. That is where everything visual is coming from.
Which is why your vision becomes blurry if you...
If you hit the back of your head, it can. So everything that you're seeing is going here. But this area of the brain, suppose it starts firing by itself, the images can come either from outside your eyes or it can come from within. Similarly, for sounds, there is an area here in the temporal lobe that is supposed to have the job of understanding outside sounds. It is not supposed to create sounds. What if it starts creating sounds? Then बाहर जो भी चल रहा है, अंदर से ही अगर म्यूजिक बज रहा है, तो then बाहर का फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
Or voices, sounds of voices.
So voices, music, people hear entire conversations, people hear whispers that somebody is here, somebody's talking. They will see things. Initially, they may start seeing lizards on the wall, random shapes, objects, circles floating somewhere. Then they will start seeing more and more formed, an entire dog, an entire human being. Then they might start seeing entire storylines playing out in front of them. Just depends on how much the brain has lost control over itself. Because all these neurons are actually kept under very strict control. You can just imagine having 1 billion employees in your company. and think of the kind of control you need to make sure that everybody is functioning as per company policy, which is what your prefrontal cortex has to do. Somewhere, if something goes wrong, if some employee goes rogue, you need to have the system in place to make sure that they are found and removed quickly, or trained or retrained. All mental health disorders are basically when this system collapses.
How do you treat something like that as a doctor?
It is difficult. So schizophrenia and psychosis, they all come under the field called psychiatry. So as a neurologist, I do not treat them. But the way to do it is roughly into two sections. One is pharmacological. You go in with drugs, you change the levels of the chemicals that we discussed, like serotonin, like dopamine, and you try to bring them back as close to normal as possible. And the other is cognitive behavioral therapy. So you try and use whichever parts of the brain are not damaged, you try and use it to your advantage, and you try to make the brain correct itself.
Like, I'm assuming that's what John Nash did in A Beautiful Mind, because he hallucinated for the rest of his life, but he made peace with his hallucinations.
In a way, yeah. So there are cognitive behavioral therapies for all mental health problems, and you are essentially using the parts of the brain that are okay to treat the parts of the brain that are not. So it's kind of like self-help, but guided.